Here we've got 3 projects to discuss, each of which presents a different take on construction technology, which of course is fundamental to the future of architecture, and it's changing very fast. With both a look at the past of construction technology and what was done in the past, particularly with reference to sustainability, but also, of course, with advanced digital manufacturing, which can also be highly sustainable. And the 3 projects we have are a mixed-use project in Iran, which Kamran and Talan are about to present. And then we have a project for refugees housing, which is technically for a site in the Netherlands, but I suspect would have a universal application. And finally, we have a project at the University of Tasmania, which has an extraordinary timber construction, but we'll see more of that later. So, Talan and Kamran, would you like to start?
Hello everyone, this is Talan and Kamran from Canlan Studio. We are presenting together. This is an Iranian village during a religious festival. The houses transform into platforms for social interaction. They turn into a theatrical stage. North of Iran, such a friendly culture. Local markets always played an important role in the economy. Iranians love it there, no matter the traffic, crowds, or chaos. We are talking about a narrow green ribbon across the Caspian Sea. Our story is here. The site has 2 sides, the coastline and the city, with no interaction. No interaction between visitors and locals. Because of poor urban facilities, far from each other, and no useful hub to support them. The brief was a commercial podium and 18 floors of residential apartments above. That typical brief imposing on local neighborhoods and markets. So we need to establish a dialogue with locals and their lives. An interactive hub, a place for everyone. We pictured a neighborhood rooted in 3 spatial elements: the local market, community spaces, and homes. They create patterns by repeating and growing in neighborhoods. A place with character and friendly routines. A neighborhood as a bridge, a vertical bridge. It starts from the local community, flowing into our imagined village. This is what's happening in our village. All the things a happy community needs. And we imagine it this way. Vertical pathways. These pathways transform vertical movement into a dynamic living experience on the slopes. It's an architectural promenade, an extension of both the city and the coastline.
A journey into the neighborhoods. We learn from the local behaviors that the market is a journey, carrying you toward your home. The point is being rather than arriving. The project opens toward a broad, clear horizon facing the sea. We frame the horizon with neighborhoods at different angles, a series of snapshots capturing the panoramic view. Open pathways and projected terraces act as platforms for community engagement and playful interactions. You might wake up one morning to find people gathered in your front yard, simply because in this village, the line between private and communal living is purposefully blurred. Traditional architecture in the north of Iran is always at peace with the natural elements, so this architecture also opens up to breezes and gently protected from the sky. Community spaces suspended from the structure. Life is shaped around the core. Neighborhoods are organized around the slopes and pathways. Every journey begins by stepping out of any access point and immediately finding yourself in the open space. Then you can just start exploring different destinations, just as if you're walking in the city. In this neighborhood, we love to see each other. Dynamic moments hidden within the pathways and living spaces. So in many ways you could say, you live in a friendly community that everything you need is there. Slopes impact and shape the lifestyle in the north of Iran, how people move, interact, use materials, and build their homes. We adopted this lifestyle into the project, where movement and life blend together and shape the daily life scenarios. Imagine a quick stop at the grocery shop to pick up some fruit before heading home. Or perhaps coming back from work, picking up your child from school, taking him for a haircut in the upper neighborhood. Or feeling like buying bread, having a cup of coffee, spending some time with friends in your favorite corner. Or simply wasting time, doing nothing, sitting by the window, reading a book while watching neighbors socializing outdoors. Wasting time might sound odd, but up in the north of Iran, wasting time is a quality and essential part of the culture. And the podium, a focal point where the city meets the coastline, shared with the local markets. We saw this an opportunity to give this fading subculture a chance. In the north of Iran, these markets are more than just commercial spaces. They are hubs for interaction, gathering, spending time, sharing stories, keeping local customs alive. There are no divisions. That's the character of the podium, providing a space to nurture the local markets. Organized by flow and accessibility, voids and bridges smoothly connected the market to the restaurants, and finally to the open plaza above. Colorful canopies, sounds and scents of the local market give character to the podium. Fishermen sit next to grocery shops and clothes next to handicrafts, and people can freely wander among them. Then fishing a shopping day in the restaurants on the upper floor. You are always connected to the local market, just as you experience it in any northern neighborhood.
The journey to the podium ends at the plaza on top, where city events take place. In this place, we want to see each other. Wasting time is a value. The tailor is your neighbor, and the sky is near. You are always a part of the city.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're now going to hear from Mohamed Experian about the refugees community and designed for a site in the Netherlands, but I think has a universal application. You could build it anywhere. It's designed for a site in the Netherlands, but you could build it anywhere, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Please tell us about it.
First of all, thanks to the WAF organization for providing this opportunity to give a presentation on this project. My name is Mohamed Ekberian. I'm representing our projects under the leadership of Mr. Sebastian, the founder and principal of U Architect Office. We will present community for refugee in the Netherlands. The location for the refugee is in the Netherlands. We like to share a short news item so that you can see the impact this situation has on politics in the Netherlands and even in Europe.
It wasn't just immigration, but also a lack of affordable housing that caused Mark Rutte's Dutch government to collapse earlier this month. A strong increase in asylum requests during 2022 led to the opening of some emergency reception centres across the country. This one in the town of Aalmeer, managed by the Dutch Red Cross in a former firehouse, hosts 150 people, mostly young men.
There were no beds, so people were staying outside. And then the Red Cross stepped in. And since then we have become basically an integral part of the structure of refugee shelter.
Here people get 3 meals per day and weekly spending money of just €12. Some of them have been waiting for more than a year for their asylum request to be assessed. They can go out during the day and work for a maximum of 12 weeks per year. But many spend their days in the centre's recreation room. Syrians are the most common among asylum seekers here and at a national level, like Yara, who fled the civil war in her home country.
My husband and my 2 kids are in Syria, and I didn't see them since 9 months, which is so difficult for me. And until now, I have to count another year in order to see them. I hope not to be more than 1 year.
The immigration of refugees and expats who have come to the Netherlands has affected the political outcome of the last election. A far-right conservative party received the most votes, even though the Netherlands doesn't have the highest number of refugee applications in Europe. Many voters are convinced that the country has already accepted enough refugees. When we look at the EU, the Netherlands hosts a relatively small percentage of refugees. In comparison to the overall refugee population in Europe, the Netherlands' share is about an average of 1.5% each year. Seeking refuge is not a choice made out of free will, but rather a result of war, hunger, political instability, and other forms of repression. For many years, we have been deeply concerned about the challenges faced by refugees seeking a better and safer environment. We have also provided opportunities for several architects who fled their countries in the Middle East to learn and work at the studio. This way, they have a chance to start a new life in the Netherlands. We see this as a contribution and moral responsibility. Another important focus is on how we can support them in establishing new communities in the Netherlands and how we can stimulate community living. In the Netherlands, approximately 60,000 refugees have come seeking safety from conflict and persecution. This situation showed the need for quick and lasting solutions to help these people settle into Dutch society. Ter Apel, where the largest refugee center is located, had to find space for up to 2,000 people during this crisis. Our design proposes a fundamental shift in how we are seeing refugees. Instead of only focusing on short-term humanitarian concerns, we aim to create long-term opportunities for economic integration and social inclusion of refugees. Understanding the potential of architecture in fostering inclusivity, our design approach focuses on the existing football field site in Apeldoorn into a multifunctional space that addresses the diverse needs of refugees. The current land use of the existing 1,500 square meter site is recreational. To enhance the site, we are transforming it by introducing microhomes and creating a combined medium-density residential and recreational area. Instead of viewing the football field only as a recreational area, we propose converting it into a residential community featuring microhomes, 25 square meter tailored for 2 people, supplemented by rest areas and outdoor farming spaces. Solar panels on the rooftops provide electricity, helping the community stay sustainable. The design includes raised garden beds and hydroponic systems, allowing residents to grow their plants and become more self-sufficient. The microhomes on the site are intended as a temporary housing for refugees. Through the adaptation of lightweight prefabricated living units and incorporating farming on the plot, we can address housing and refugee crises at several locations. These homes are manufactured in a factory and easily transported to the site in Apeldoorn. They are placed on the site temporarily. Once the refugee crisis is resolved, these microhomes can be easily removed from the site and reused elsewhere. These microhomes are easily adaptable but also affordable and have a low carbon footprint. By combining these lightweight housing options with farming, we can establish a community for refugees that is human-centered and provides a sensitive solution to addressing the refugee crisis in the Netherlands. Also, we designed the interiors with a focus on foldability, creating spacious, multifunctional areas that adapt to residents' needs. Each home is set up temporarily using hydraulic jacks and steel posts, which can be removed once the housing is no longer needed without harming the environment. Roofs are made from LEC panels, which help lower carbon emissions by 18.82% and are a good solution for the pitched roofs, which are common in the Netherlands. By adding a foldable hydroponic green wall to the design, we use vertical space to grow herbs and vegetables without needing much land. A 2,000-liter slimline water tank provides a clean water for farming and daily needs. Our plan divides the 25 square meter space into 3 main functions for residents: living, resting, and farming. Our design focuses on integrating various sustainable technologies, and water management to support residents while maximizing space and functionality. Our design emphasizes community engagement by connecting the units. This setup encourages interaction among residents and fosters a sense of belonging. Our project creates a supportive community for refugees in the Netherlands. It's an adaptable community using modular microhomes, self-sustaining farming, and eco-friendly features to foster integration between economic and social and also environmental care. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to move on to Bruno Mendes from Woods Bagot, talking about the University of Tasmania building, a forestry building. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name's Bruno Mendes. I'm here from Woods Bagot from Melbourne, Australia. So I want to start by just asking this question. What are the metrics that really matter and how do we measure project success? For us as a team, we went from thinking about, what the project ambitions would be to one that really shifted our thinking, which was really about thinking about what a legacy this project would actually have in the end. For us also, we're quite lucky to have government policy, client briefs and ourselves aligned in this sort of common thread to try and create and focus on a legacy rather than, a project ambition of sorts. And I think when you get those three key partners aligned, you do create the biggest impact. And for us, this project is really, its biggest impact is really a sustainable one. When you think about sustainability and where I'm from, Australia, these two things don't gel together very well. We're known for selling coal all over the world. We rank 14th. Our federal government policies are actually quite poor relative to other nations around the world. In terms of net zero, in terms of climate policies, we're really not really doing very well. However, there is a little place called Tasmania. And this little island off the mainland of off the mainland of Australia, has been doing some pretty fantastic things over the years. It's got a government that's been very forward-thinking about climate policy. Tassie's well known for a number of things. Dark Mofo, a raft of fantastic social events and really fantastic food as well. But it's also known for being one of 7 places around the world that is actually running on 100% renewable energy, which is fantastic, all because of committing to running its whole entire system off hydro since 1916. So it's very forward thinking from that point of view compared to the mainland. So that's something about the government I wanted to point out, the context that we're working within. When you think about the university that we're dealing with, our client, if I said to you that UTAS ranks number 1 in the world compared to all the universities in this world, that's a pretty amazing thing. It rates number 1 for climate action. And the main reason for that, it's certified carbon neutral, but every single project they actually deliver, they commit to a green bond, which means that every project has to hit a minimum 20% carbon reduction. So that's an impost that they've put on themselves for every single project they deliver. So that's a little bit of really important sort of information about when we hit the project. Hobart is the city that it's at. The site is located in the Central Business District. It's about 8,000 square metres. And the thing here to point out is this really eclectic mix of a variety of fantastic old buildings. Some, quite old, rich, diverse spaces. And really for us, when we saw a lot of this, we were just hooked on it. This fantastic dome here, which was created by the architect that's here today over 30 years ago, Morris Nunn, is really, the hero of the space in terms of the diverse buildings that we do have. It also used to be a former green oasis, so a fantastic bit of respite from the city itself into this fantastic space. The brief components, 2,500 students and 320 staff members, 3 faculties, and a ratio of 7:1 in terms of a variety also of different spaces, from large focus areas, quite private, to quite collaborative spaces as well. We had 4 key themes that we tried to address in the project. This idea of designing a campus, not a building. The challenge of bringing students back from after COVID back into campuses is really a struggle for any university project. So for us, designing all the key spaces, the interstitial spaces, to try and keep them on campus was a priority. Satisfying the census is really this idea of also thinking about fresh air, natural light, and biophilia, which was once there. Craft and materiality. Tassie's got a fantastic history in terms of workflows, locally sourced industries, and we really wanted to tap into all of that. So if we kind of take you through the journey of the project, re-establishing that former green space in the dome, which also connects through north-south, and also begins to kind of break down the large site, because it's quite a large site, quite deep. We did try and bring in that kind of respite, natural light, public spaces into the centre. So when you think about the arrival of this whole space, you're greeted by the forest. You've got all the sticky spaces, which are all the collaborative spaces for the students, and then flanked around the edges you can see the variety of different classroom settings. Up in the upper level, some of these little collaborative spaces borrow from some of the geometry that Robert himself placed there 30 years ago, so really borrowing on geometry that's there and found. And the section of the project is really quite rich. It compresses, it releases. That beautiful dome that was done such a long time ago, we really wanted to kind of reinvent what that new structure could be. This idea of structure and architecture as one, and it can pretty much diffuse the light and really is the next sort of chapter on the dome that was once created. When we're thinking about carbon reduction strategy, we had 4 key pillars. Build nothing was the most important thing. If we didn't need to build it, we wouldn't have built it. So that was really our first thing to do. Building for long-term value, which I'll go through in a sec, building efficiently, and building with the right materials. So we actually did an analysis where we actually managed to retain well over 60% of all the primary structure. What we kept, we kept. What we demolished, we put back into the project. A lot of the primary structure, some of these timber beams, which we couldn't kind of use some of these spaces, were all just put back into the project. Same with the brickwork. So a lot of this fabric that we found, we reused and reappropriated. One of the key things that we did add was this incredible sort of waffle timber structure, which spans about 16 metres, which really gives complete long-term adaptability. So as educational spaces evolve over the years, being able to demolish a lot of these spaces and put new spaces back in was critical, which also informed our services strategy, underfloor displacement strategy, right down to all the joinery elements that have a variety of different modes and have been designed for a variety of different settings. We also thought about everything around disassembly, right from primary elements through to joinery elements and everything in between. We documented all of that. We made sure that all the building elements that we put in were really contributing to this idea of dematerialisation. So some of the hero materials are, recycled straw, which is Durapanel, hempcrete as well. Where we needed to use concrete, we replaced Portland cement with fly ash. In terms of carpets, we have a buyback scheme with the supplier. They come back and take all the carpets at the end of their lifespan and recycle them and put them back into the system. All the brickwork was sourced locally, where the kilns are used biofuels and sawdust waste. So we really thought about everything, and really the hero of the project we think is this kind of material which we've never used at this scale. Or hasn't been used at this scale in Australia, which is hempcrete. completely biodegradable. We did all the fire testing for it, so it's now can be used in a commercial application. A lot of the walls are used in this material, and it's a great carbon sink as well. And all the chairs, 95% recycled material. So that gives you a little bit of an idea about, you know, the work that went in. We tracked all the materials. There's a passport system with all the materials that we use, so we're tracking the lifespan of everything. You can kind of see here some of the imagery of the space. The building is well under construction now. There's that hero waffle mass timber ceiling, which really filters all that light and brings everything down into the space. And I just want to finish with what I started, which is this whole question around what are the metrics that really matter? What are the things that we need to really start concerning ourselves with? Circular economy is absolutely critical. Dematerialisation, longevity, adaptability, these things are things that every project needs to tackle, regardless of whether it's new build or adaptive reuse in this case. We also need to start thinking more about not just the upfront carbon figures, but also the embodied carbon. So understanding that measuring the operations of the buildings is also critical. We had Arup on board, which were basically measuring every decision that we made along the way. And on a similar reference scheme, this project that we've managed to achieve has an upfront carbon footprint of negative 44% and an embodied footprint of 40, which is a pretty massive figure. The two slides I'll just finish on here, I took these from Climate Tracker. These are really well-known facts. When you think about that 39% of the built environment is really coming from, you know, buildings, is really what is responsible for carbon emissions, and 28% being operational emissions. And these last 2 points here, which is around, by the year 2060, the total global floor area of buildings will double. Think about that. By 2060, it will double, with more than 50% of this anticipated within the next 20 years. And 80% of these buildings that will need to be in use by 2050 already exist today. So these buildings already exist today. So really, I just wanted to finish with the importance of adaptive reuse. And what we've learnt as a team is building new isn't always important. Dealing with what's there is just as important and sometimes even more challenging.